on this oval lavatory that the faucet mounts on what we call a ledge back. I don't have a widespread faucet. If I were to measure this, I would measure from the center to the center, which is 4 inches, from the center to the center here, which is 4 inches, and this faucet would actually, there would be a faucet installed here, a faucet installed here. The spout would install independent with the connecting hose between the two of them. And these holes could be anywhere along here that we wanted to put them, and it would still connect up. This, we'll measure this one. This is about 16 1/4, so we would call it a 16. And this is 19 1/4, so this would be a 16 by 19. What's that color? Orange. The material on this is cast iron. Almost sounds like vitreous china. It does have an overflow here, so our drain will have an overflow. And let me flip it over. This is the overflow tube that comes down to here and will drain into these openings of the drain. And you can see that this is cast iron. It's gray cast iron, and it's enameled with the orange glazing. Again, we have the countertop is a one-piece countertop that's simulated marble. And at first we might think that the lavatory is built into it, but you'll see it's a little different color. This lavatory is actually mounted to the bottom of this countertop. The advantage of a installation like this is that if something's spilled on the countertop, it will just slide right in without going up over a lip or anything else. Again, we see that we have a 4-inch center set lavatory. This has the ability to put in a pop-up, but we haven't shown it here. This is just a plug-in chain strainer. So to measure this one, I'm going to guess that this is about 17 inches from the inside to the inside. The lip is going to be about 3/4 of an inch, so we're going to have about an 18 to 19 inch basin, but our inside dimension is a little over 17 inches this way, and it's going to be about 14 inches this way. Okay, so this would be a 14 by 17 white oval lavatory. Each one of these lavatories that mounts under the counter has its own mounting system, and so be sure that you notice and pay attention to how the lavatory is mounted underneath. This one, you'll see, has a clip that's put in there, and that the rest of the lavatory is actually glued then to the bottom of the countertop. So whatever method they used, that's the method you're going to need to use to put it back in. Be very, very careful when you get a replacement lavatory for this installation, because it will be very difficult to install and to remove. It's that same lavatory. This is the basin, the lavatory basin that was mounted under the sink. You can see that it's the same simulated marble. Listen to the sound. That's a stone. That feels hard. You can see the way they mounted it. They used adjustable screws, and they literally glued it on. If you're going to replace one of these, be very, very careful. You would be better off to replace the entire countertop. And these can be ordered special by size. 121, plumbing repair. And we are studying about lavatories. And our assignment was to identify the lavatory in your bathroom in your residence with enough detail that we could go out and purchase a replacement lavatory to replace it with. So the first lavatory that we have is an oval lavatory. It's mounted in the deck, and it has a metal rim, that is the mounting rim, has a two-handled faucet, has a plug with a stopper, and you'll notice that this faucet has the ability to put a pop-up in it if we want to. This little chrome disc will pop out if we want to. We measure the faucet by the distance between the middle of the two handles. So this faucet is a 4-inch center set faucet. If I were to pull it out, you would see that the faucet nipples are 4 inches center to center. We very seldom see a plug and chain anymore, but they are available, and so this drain is for the plug and chain. If we were to replace this, we probably would not put the rubber plug back in. This lavatory has an overflow here, so the drain that we put in has to be able to accommodate an overflow. There are different types of drains. One will handle an overflow and the other one will not. So to measure this lavatory, I'm going to go from the outside of the rim to the inside of the rim because it's easy. It measures about 19¼ inches. If I go to the middle of the rim to the middle of the rim, it measures almost 19 inches, which is the size of our lavatory. Then I'm going to measure it this way, and it measures about 16 inches. Actually, it's 16 and an eighth, depending on how we do it. Yeah, pretty close to 16. Now, if I go, so this would be a 19 by 16 white lavatory with a deck-mounted faucet. This faucet is mounted on the deck. It's not mounted to the lavatory. So what kind of material is this lavatory made of? You hear that? That's ceramic. This is the same material that a toilet is made of. It's vitreous china. So we know that we have a 19 by 16 oval lavatory, white, vitreous china. The faucet is a 4-inch center set two-handle faucet, and we have a plug and chain drain on it with an overflow. Okay. Lavatory is a simulated marble, one-piece countertop and lavatory. It's cast all as one piece. This one also has a overflow on it. The faucet we now know that this type of faucet is a 4-inch center set. It has the lift rod, trip rod, and a pop-up drain. With this faucet, with this type, we would measure the size, and this is a 34 3/4 by 18 3/4. Whoops. By 18 3/4 countertop. This is for a Pullman. This would sit in a cabinet, custom made for this type of countertop of lavatory. If we were to need to replace this, we would probably order not just this lavatory top, but we would order the entire Pullman. And it has a sound of its own. Has a little ring to it, but it still has its own sound. The last lavatory is a wall-hung lavatory. And no, this is not a lavatory. This is a urinal. We're going to use the setup for the urinal or the wall-hung lavatory. This is a wall hanger. This is our wall-hung lavatory upside down, and this is a wall hanger And if this is mounted on the wall, this groove here would fit into here, and that's what supports it. Not very strong. These two holes on either side are where we would put legs if we wanted to put legs under it. This hole here, these holes right here, will work to anchor it back to the wall. Otherwise, this lavatory can slide off, can lift up and slide off of this bracket and fall on the floor. So let's set it on here. And there it is. Very important with a wall-hung lavatory that you do not anchor it or hang it on drywall. Now there will be drywall here, but behind the drywall there has to be something solid to bolt to. Otherwise, if there's any pressure put on the front of it, it'll rip it right out of the wall. We see with this wall-hung lavatory that we have a single lever faucet. It has a canopy on it. This is the canopy that will cover a 4-inch center set drilling for the faucet. This one, for some reason, has two overflow drains. The overflow drain is necessary if the drain is plugged up or the stopper is in the drain and the faucet leaks. It won't run over onto the floor. So this one will be measured. This is the 20 3/4 inches. By about 16 3/4. This would be probably a 17 by 21 porcelain wall-hung lavatory for a 4-inch center set faucet, and the color is beige. This is the color here. You can hear the sound is sharp. With the porcelain or the vitreous china, if you break it, the shards are sharper than a surgeon's scalpel, and they can cut your tendons, and it's not pretty. So whatever you do, if you're going to throw one of these away, the old one away, don't throw it into a dumpster. It could shatter and scar you or put out your eyes. So be very careful when you see the porcelain or the ceramic. This concludes our lavatories, but the other part of your assignment was to look at the supply tubing underneath. So we will move there next. Supply tubing is that tubing that fastens to the bottom of the faucet nipple and goes down to the service valve, which is underneath the sink. There are different sizes. The service valve could be anything. This happens to be a 1/2-inch pipe size, or they call it a 7/16 compression. And one side of the supply tubing with the 1/2-inch will screw right onto that. The other end can be a multiple of sizes. This happens to be a 3/8 compression size. This is a 1/2-inch pipe size, and it will attach right to the bottom of the nipple. They're flexible, but they can kink if you twist them too much. This supply tube, this service valve, happens to have a 3/8 compression end on it. You can see how it's different from this other one. So we'll put the 3/8 compression on here. And then the 1/2-inch will connect to here. Each of these come in different lengths. So you will look underneath the fixture and measure from where the service valve comes out of the wall up to where it will connect to the faucet nipple, and that's the length. It's okay to be too long, you just can't be too short. That's it.